Hey Chris, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Just checking. I think I have to change the audio setting, it seems.
Okay.
Change that, it might cause some noise.
Okay.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, just fine.
Okay, good. Good. And now let's see who's here. I think it's just you and me right now.
It was just me, so I'm beginning to worry, or I was beginning.
I know. So I time it exactly at 4 and then start it at the clock. It is programmed like that. And so it might so happen that I am not here and the program starts.
Well, I said that it was recording. So.
Oh, I know. I'm recording. So it is scheduled recording and the program automatically starts and all that good stuff, which is what we do, is to automate everything that we could and should.
Yes.
But not everything, right? Not absolutely everything should not be automated. One thing that you should never automate is personal communication with people, especially with customers, right? That is one thing never automate. And that has to be human. That has to remain human when you interact with people.
Sure.
And that's the idea. Okay, let's see who is here. Still you and me, that's it. Okay, so I think we should just start discussing. So the idea that we are discussing today is that today is May, what day is today? May 12th.
12th, yeah.
So it is the fourth day number 4 of DevOps, which is, we are kind of halfway through the bootcamp, it seems. That's what it sounds like. So in this bootcamp, what we are going to focus today is this exercise, which is where we are now going to use the Chef server. And that is this point. We're beginning from this point. So we will begin using Chef server from this company called manage.chef.io. That's the portal that they provide. And we are going to use that link. And one thing I would suggest for the purpose of this exercise is to visit the Chef server website in your workstation. What does that mean? It means you open up the Firefox browser like this and open the Chef server portal, manage.chef.io, in that web browser, the Firefox browser. That's what I am suggesting. That will make life a whole lot easy. Okay. So that is what I would recommend you do begin with let's go to that site, which is manage.chef.io. So I'm going to paste and go. Let's see what happens. So I'm logging in there soon. And once I log in, the reason I am suggesting that you visit that website directly in the workstation is because they are going to give us a download. And I want to make it easy for us to not have to shuffle a bunch of files from the real computer to the workstation, and it's a VM. And so that shuffling of files is not super easy, right? So I want to cut that to the extent I can. And instead, download the package that Chef server gives us directly into the workstation. That's the whole reason why this particular step that I want to do today is basically making sure that we are downloading that entire package, that this Chef server is going to give us a kitchen, ready-made kitchen, as a starter kitchen with a starter cookbook and all that good stuff. Okay. They're going to give it to us. And so we will use that. And it makes it easy for us to just get the kitchen already inside our workstation, as opposed to getting it in a regular computer and then having to transfer it over, right? That becomes a little bit of a hassle. So that's why what I'm suggesting for those of you who just joined is to open this link and open it directly in the browser inside the workstation. That's what I'm suggesting, that you do it in the browser inside workstation to make our life simple. And how do we get get to this point, you just go there, log in. You might have created a login already. If not, just sign up. It takes like 2 minutes. And then you have a login. Once you log in, you will be taken to some place which may be unfamiliar to you. So I'm suggesting that you click the administration button and then look on the left side and find a place where it says starter kit. That's the place you want to go and click. Right, this thing called starter kit is what you need to click. And when you do that, it will download or let you download a package. That is the kitchen. So like we mentioned before, some people call it kitchen, some people call it chef repo, some people call it starter kit, some people call it desire. Basically it's up to us as to what we call it, but these guys are going to call it the starter kit. So I'm going to get that starter kit, download it, and that's pretty much it. And so let's download. And it tells us something. It tells us that it is going to reset the user key. And I think I'm okay with that because I'm, first time using it for all practical purposes. Not really, by the way. Most of you are using it probably the first time. And so if your key gets reset, it's not a big deal for you. So that's what we are going to do is basically proceed. And that resets the key and it downloads. We save this file and we save it in our preferred location, which is the downloads folder. So that thing gets downloaded in the downloads folder. And by the way, the starter kit got renamed as a zip package called chef-starter.zip. So let's see what that package contains. Let's examine. And I will minimize the browser. We don't need the browser too much going forward, at least not in this VM. We might use the browser, but not too much. So all we needed was this starter kit. And we have it there. It's a zip file. And what I'm going to do is, I forgot to open my camera. So let me start my camera. And here we go. Okay, let's see. Where is the camera? Apparently it doesn't want to start today. So I'll start another computer with a different camera and use that one instead. So starting a different computer with the second camera equipment for that to show up. And this should pop up my face into the meeting. That's what's coming up momentarily. And I should be able to show my face to you right there. Hey guys. And so what you're looking at is this starter.zip. I will extract it. And open with Archive Manager is one way to do that. There are other ways, easier ways, such as just extract the whole thing into a folder. So instead of opening with the Archive Manager, the easiest option is to just right-click and extract here. So just extract it. That's the way to expand a zip file in Linux. So it gets expanded. You will see that it has a new name. This name that they have given is Chef Repo. They called it starter, but they renamed it to chef repo. It doesn't even matter what you call this folder. That name is irrelevant. So I will just leave the name whatever it is. And I would ideally move this folder out here onto my home location. That's the place where we work. So I would like to move that to the home location. So I'll drop it in the home. And now we have it in the home location. So in our home, you have this using Chef Solo folder from a previous exercise, the My Cloud folder from another previous exercise, and this new Chef repo folder from the current exercise that we are going to do. And I'm going to open that in a terminal. So that terminal is opening up. We'll say list, and you will see that the Chef repo folder is right there. Let's examine what it contains. And we will go inside that folder and open it in Atom Editor to see its content. And that content is going to pop up in the Atom Editor. And in that editor, you will find very, very familiar items like the kitchen, for example, right? We talked about kitchen the last time. That same structure will show up. right here, right now. You're looking at it. As we see that there is this folder called chef repo, which has subfolders .chef, some cookbooks, some roles, and a README file. Now this README file, we don't need it, so we can just delete it. I'm just cutting down things we do not need so that it doesn't confuse anybody as to what is the purpose of that particular file. And the key elements that we need here are this example cookbook that they have given us, cookbooks. There is a role here. Role is called starter.rb. You will notice that this particular role is written in Ruby format as opposed to JSON. Both formats are valid, and this one happens to be in Ruby. So it doesn't matter to us. We write whatever we like. So this is a starter role defined ready-made for us. This is a starter cookbook that they have given us. And the key things to look for in this particular folder are the .chef folder, which is always a critical thing to look at. And inside there, you will find two things. One of them is knife RB. This knife RB contains your configuration for the kitchen. And the second one is a private key. Okay, another private key now. So what do we do? So that's something you should never share, but I just shared with you. That's okay. But I should describe what this private key does compared to what other private keys we have had and all that good stuff. So we'll go describe what we are doing. So here, what we are looking at is, I'm going to grab a pen, a blue color, and describe the types of keys that we have been dealing with. So one key was SSH-keygen. We generate this ourselves, right? It gives us two things. And in these two things are placed in the .ssh folder by default. And then these two things are ID_RSA and ID_RSA.pub. This is the public key, and this is the corresponding private key. And so those two keys are useful for connection with other computers. How do you connect? Use these keys. You want to connect to somebody, SSH, this key. This private key is what you need to use. And you give this public key to anybody, any cloud provider, any service provider. They get that key. So that's one key. The second type of key that we are now looking at is this key pair that Chef server gave us just now. The Chef server gave us a private key. It has your name .pem is the PEM file, is the private key that they gave us. And this key is useful for Chef server to identify you. I did not type it properly, so write it properly. So let's write. It's basically to identify you. So this is your identity provided to the Chef server. And so they keep a public copy themselves inside in the Chef server, which they give you the private key in form of this file that I just showed you, which is here, this file. It has my name.pem. It can be, in your case, your name.pem. And this is a private RSA key. And it is not supposed to be disclosed to other people. The purpose is to allow you to identify yourself with the Chef server. Now, having understood that piece, there is a third type of key, which is we are going to discuss soon, which I think you have seen it before, but I just want to call out. You've seen this thing called, this is basically cloud-based key for use with cloud, key for use with the cloud company. Any cloud company, right? They will have their own methods of providing a different type of, this is not the third type, but just another type of key. And so, for example, the Amazon cloud will give you two keys. They call it the access key and the secret key. So that's the combination they give you. You have to keep both. So this is a collection that you have to use. It's a key that lets you connect to the cloud. Some other clouds will give you a token, like DigitalOcean cloud will give you a token. Vultr cloud will give you a token. VULTR cloud will give you token. Bring your cloud. They will have their own methods of authentication. So bring Azure cloud. They will give you their own methods of some certificate, and we'll go through examples of these as to what it means. But they'll give you a certificate, and these are basically useful for connection and use with the cloud as a whole. This is for just one computer, or maybe more than one computers, one or more computers. But you are connecting to a machine, as opposed to here, you're connecting to the cloud itself, the cloud company. It is typically tied to your credit card. So these tokens and access and secret keys and these tokens are tied to your credit card. So there is money involved. And so if you decide to publish this secret or these token or this certificate, you will get hacked big time. And I'm not kidding when I say hacked. In a matter of 10 minutes, if you publish this access key and secret key by mistake, by accident, in a matter of 10 minutes, I can guarantee that you will get hacked. And the impact of that hacking is of the order of something like $600 per hour is the rate of accumulation of a bill. You will accumulate a bill at the rate of $600 an hour. Approximately, this is like a 2-year-old number. Because one person in this bootcamp actually managed to, and he was being stupid, he managed to publish his access and secret keys on GitHub in a public repository. And then this happened. Within 10 minutes, he notices that his entire Amazon cloud is fully populated with the biggest possible machines that some hacker got control of. They started a bunch of machines and started Bitcoin mining. Wow. And that Bitcoin mining is like total free, because it is free for them. They're just minting money and you are going to pay for it. So we had to go with Amazon and request them, help them understand what stupid mistake we did. And they finally agreed to, basically waive it off. It is nice of Amazon to do that, but they don't have to. If you decide to publish your key on GitHub, you will get hacked. That I can guarantee. So remember that. Don't publish your credit card tied financial keys. These are financial, there is financial implication to it. So when you have key provided by the cloud company, like Azure, Amazon, Google, this and that, that key is really, really tied to money, and it is your money, not my money. So just be careful. So that's one type of key. This key is specifically for use with the Chef server. And the third type of key you generate, and you use that to connect to one machine or maybe more than one machines as you go along. So that's the short discussion on keys. Now let's continue. Now here we have this private key. We are going to use it to connect to the Chef server. And this file contains the configuration that we would like to expand on. This actually has some key references, such as line number 8. It says, where is my Chef server? It is right here in that location, api.chef.io, that location. And it has a organization structure, and I have chosen the name Classroom as the organization for my Chef team, if you call it team. I think there is a word for it. Let's see what they call it. They call it organizations. So apparently I have lots of organizations. I have an organization called Classroom, Genius, NCTANES, the test. This is a test. So lots of organizations I have created in the past. But I am going to use this organization, the Classroom organization. And through that organization, I am downloading this starter key, which I already have downloaded. And that is what we are looking at in the Atom editor right here. And so we will now proceed to the next steps in the exercise. In the next step, what we have done is, we got that starter kit. We download it, move it to the right spot. We see the contents. And then we would like to now play the exercise in the context of Amazon Cloud this time. So we are going to prepare proper security settings in the Amazon cloud. So we are basically preparing for the traffic to flow. For the traffic to flow correctly, we know that we need to open up security groups. So if you remember the security group discussion from Cloud Technologies, you will understand that in the Amazon cloud, we have to have in our VPC that we will create, or we will use an existing one. It's, I think, better to use the default VPC for the first time. We'll use the default VPC that Amazon gives us. That's a whole lot simpler. So use that one. And in that VPC, we want to go inside on these 3 ports. So we want to keep them open. For people on the outside, like you, for example, you want to be able to go inside the VPC. And so you want to open these ports in the default VPC. Now let's see how it is done. So we go to the Amazon cloud. And there we log in. So here's my account, the management console, and I hope it lets me log in. Okay, log out, click here. And now what? Okay. Log in, management console. And here is my email, password, and next. Come on, log in. Log in to my account. And please type the password like a good browser should type the password for me. So show matching sites, and I want to use this password, and I want to sign in. Now it is going to ask me for a token, which I will generate and give it to that site. What just happened? Amazon down? Cannot believe that. Cannot believe Amazon is down. It might happen though, but let's click. Okay, there is a token request, so I'm going to provide the token. I'm grabbing that token from my token generator and providing it to this guy right now. Okay, Amazon token, please. And the token is, there we go. It is 353860. And off we go. So in the Amazon cloud, we have to go identify, first thing first, a location that we want to use. So Amazon has multiple regions, right? There is this Oregon region, California region, Virginia region, Ohio region, and a bunch of other places across the nation, across the US, right? And then they have other places outside worldwide. So we have to select one region. We have to remember that we are selecting this or this or this. Each one of them has a name. So this one is called US West 2. This one is called US West 1. This one, Virginia, is called US East 1, like that. So you have to remember which zone are you playing in and stick to that zone. Don't change the zones randomly. And so okay, go away, please. Okay, these browser add-ons. Okay, so I'll ignore that. What I'm going to do is make sure that I am indeed connected to the right location. Last pass, go away. There we go. So you have to select the appropriate region, like Virginia, Ohio, California, and like that. You have to select which one do you want to play with and stick to that. So I'm going to stick to one. And my choice today is Northern California. So I select that. And then I go to the EC2 section. While I go to the EC2 section, I must make sure that I'm still in Northern California. So keep an eye on this segment. And I'm there. Now in the Northern California region, I will go and look at my virtual private clouds that I have. You will notice that I have probably one or more, and I would like to select the default VPC. You can select VPC by clicking the orange box here up on top, go to the network section at the bottom here, networking and content delivery, and then click VPC. And so I'm going to select VPC, and there I will like to find out how many VPCs do I have. I think I might have one or more. I have two apparently. So these two VPCs, one of them is called do not use from a previous exercise. So this is the default one, right? So the default VPC is what I actually want to use this time. And so I will stick to using the default VPC for this exercise. And in that VPC, which has this ID ending E6FE, that's the default VPC I have. And you can see that it is default because it says so. Default VPC, yes. The other VPC is not the default VPC. So that's what I want to make sure that I am in the right VPC. So I need to work in this VPC, not this one. Now in that VPC, I need to go and first of all, select that one. And so I am selected the default VPC. And now I will look at my security groups. And there is a default security group called do not use, which is the name I have chosen the last time. I will call it my default security group. And in that security group, I need to make sure that I am opening up inbound routes. And my port number 22, port number 80, and port number 443 are open for access from anywhere on the internet. But apparently 22 is not. It is limited to a particular IP address. This port 80 is open to anywhere on the internet. This port 443 is also open to anywhere on the internet, but this port is limited to only that IP address. And let us go check whether that IP address is the right one. So the reason behind that IP address is it happens to be the IP address at that time that I had when I set it up. I may have a different IP address right now. So I will like to delete that one and select appropriate IP address, which is maybe the idea, the shortcut that I can go with right now is to just say 0000/0, meaning allow me to come in from anywhere on the internet and save. That's a shortcut. Ideal situation, you don't want to go like that. Instead, you want to add another route and pick your SSH access and limit yourself to your IP address. How do you find your IP address? You say, what is my IP? And grab your IP address like this, copy, bring it back here. And in that port number 22 entry, you want to put your IP address like this, followed by /32. And this indicates that only machines that have your IP as the public facing IP will be allowed to connect through to this default VPC because the default security group says so. Let me in only if I am in this location through port number 22 SSH protocol. That's a very narrowly defined access route, which is a good thing. So I can access, nobody else can. That's what I would like to have, and that's what I just did. So I'm opening up these security groups for that particular reason, is to make sure that only I, or rather machines inside this IP address, machines behind this public IP address can connect. So that's the idea behind setting proper security group settings. So we did that. Now, what we want to be able to do is set up a key pair. This key pair is the first type of key pair that we had. So for example, if you are in the Oregon region as written down here, but I am playing in a different region, I am playing in Northern California, I would like to check my key pair that I have with this particular company, this Northern California region. In the EC2 section, I can check my key pairs, and I seem to be in Northern California. For my key pairs, I have two of them here. One of them is called the Nilesh key, and the other one is the IDRSA key. Now, this IDRSA key is probably old from the last time, so I'm going to delete it. And then use a new key that I have from my current machine, which is this key. which I'm going to use, and I'm going to call it ID RSA because that's the name. And I will like to copy my content of the ID RSA public key from my command line. And so here is my command line. I will copy that content of the ID RSA dot pub key. And here's the public key that I have from my computer that I'm using right now. I'll grab that public key, copy it over like that, and go back to my browser and paste the contents of the public key like this. You will see that this portion is actually a comment. It is not technically a part of the public key, but it is okay. This cloud accepts it. There is no issue. So I'll import. And I imported, and my new public key showed up right there. This ID RSA key with this fingerprint showed up in the Northern California region. That is what I wanted to accomplish. And I just succeeded in setting up a key pair with the cloud region of your choice. You give them, I think the exercise that we are doing is slightly different. What I would like to say is this setup, this particular sequence doesn't do what I just did. It is the other way of generating key pair, which I never discussed with you, which I think I should. So if you remember this key pair generation process, we did that ourselves. We generated the ID RSA pub and we gave it to Amazon Web Services right now. We kept the private key private ourselves because that's the right way to do it. However, to make things simple for some customers, not for us, to make simple for some customers, some clouds like Amazon, for example, will make it easy for the customer to generate a public key private key pair. And so they are basically running this SSH keygen command on the back end. Amazon will run this for you. They will generate a public key and a private key. And what they will do is keep the public themselves, which is exactly what we want, and give this private key to us. And they will download it to our laptop. Download. You can see this action happen. And by the way, there is a philosophical problem I have with this approach. This approach, I am asking the cloud company to run SSH keygen. And it's mostly philosophical. There is no practical value to it. But I told you that I should never give private key to anybody, but you let them generate the private key. So what if they might have kept a copy? I don't think they do that. So don't worry about it, because that's not what they do. But it's a philosophical debate you can have, whether it's a good idea to have them create a private key for you and then let you download it. And I know they don't keep this copy. After they let you download, they just not keep a copy at all. All they keep is the public key. And that's what is this example, which is described in this blue highlight. And we are not doing that step, but we could. For example, if you hit this blue button, create a key pair, give it a name, give it a name is the name I gave, and create. Right now, it just downloaded, and I can save this key pair, and I can view it, and I can see that this give it a name.keypair downloaded. And so that is the, if I can open the folder and examine the content of that file, I can probably see that particular key pair right there. And that is what I can use, but I don't want to use. So I can basically delete that key pair. So this key pair is a properly generated key pair that Amazon generated for us. And this is the private key. This is another approach to generating key pairs, but I don't like it. So I'm not using it. I have given that how-to written down here. So if you like, you can follow this how-to, but I still prefer my way, which is, just provide them the public key and you already have the private. So use that. That's a better approach, at least in my philosophical way of thinking. Having said that, we now want to get a credential set. This credential set helps us connect to the cloud. And I know a couple of you have actually went ahead and, you're probably almost finishing this exercise, which is a beautiful thing that you're doing, by the way, is to go ahead of me. And that is nice. So some of you have actually proceeded ahead, but you may have seen this key credential generation. This key I'm talking about is that key pair which I discussed early on, which is okay, Zoom settings here. The cloud company provided key pair. So access key and secret key, those two things. That is what I'm talking about, is what we want to grab from the Amazon cloud. And this is what we need to get and then put that in the knife.rb file. That's what we want to grab, the AWS credentials, put that in this file. And I am getting a phone call that I'm going to reject and put it do not disturb. Do not disturb. Okay. Now, what I want to do is go to the Amazon cloud, and in here, go to the name that you have here up in the upper right corner, this name. Click on the name. That is where you can get your security credentials. Those credentials, click, and then wait for it to load. And this will give you a place to continue to the security credentials. So go there and let us see what happens next. It will show us a place to generate access key ID and secret access key. Those two things are we looking for. So now I have been generating these keys and deleting them. So every time I need a key, I just create one. And as soon as I click the create button, it is going to give it to me. Now this key is tied to my credit card. And that means you should never, ever, ever give this key pair to anybody whatsoever, unless you trust them. And so I trust you. I just showed it to you, my access key and my secret access key. So I'm going to copy these guys and take it to my knife.rb file. That's where it belongs. So I'm basically downloading those credentials and then editing this file, knife.rb, and then edit that cookbook path. And I'll fit that credentials inside that particular file in a specific fashion. So this knife.rb I have here, it needs to receive the credentials that I just downloaded. So I'll place them right here for now, like just paste it like that. And I have it here. I would like to use it in a specific fashion. I have to write them properly. You cannot just copy and paste randomly like this. So it has to be written down in a specific Ruby format, the format that knife.rb uses. So I'm going to save it as is and then revisit our exercise, which will describe how to write it. So in this exercise, you will find that this particular knife.rb should be written like this specific example shows you how. Copy these lines at the end of the file, and then change this, change this, change this, like that. That's what you need to go and do. And then at the end of it, you should have a knife.rb that looks kind of sort of like this at the end. So we will copy the whole thing. And I will take this entire example, knife.rb, and take it to my workstation and do a line-by-line comparison so that I don't miss out on any critical thing. So here is my content that I would like to have in this structure. Go to my actual knife.rb and place it right here in the middle at line number 13, like that. So I have it now. At the bottom, at the very bottom, you will see that I have my credentials kept in line 33 and below, but I will get to that later. First, what I want to make sure is this configuration file that I have is exactly in line with the format that I just copied from the website. So first line is a comment, which is we can get rid of it. First line is delete that. Then we have this line number 2, which is matching line number 12. So that's great. So I'll get rid of 12. 12 goes away. Line number 2 matches line number 11. So 11 goes away, deleting that. And this is a file that you have to really be diligent about putting items in there, because this contains critical things that you need for your chevrons. So line 11 goes because 2 is there. Line 11 goes again because 3 is there. Line 11 goes again because 4. And so I'm deleting my line 11 like that. Come on, go away. Yeah. Now, same with 12. It is there already in line number 5. So I get rid of that. 13, I have it all matching up somewhat. And you will question whether this name is correct or this name is correct. But let me tell you, both work. This company that is giving us this chef server has changed the name recently, maybe not so recently, a couple of years ago. They used to be called Ops Code. Now they are called Chef. Just a simpler name that they chose for themselves. And therefore, this URL is also valid, but I'm going to use the new URL. So I'll keep that line number 6 instead of line number 12. So I'll delete this line. 12 goes. Next one is the cookbook path. And you'll remember from the last discussion that we have to give precedence to a folder called site cookbooks over and above the cookbooks folder. And that's our way of doing things. So line number 7 needs to go and 12 needs to stay. So I will delete line 7 and keep line 12 in place. That's what my intention is. So I'm getting rid of 7, goes, and now I have a slightly more elaborate knife RB. You will notice that here line number 9 expects change this, and also make sure that you are in the right region. So I am currently operating in US West 1. This example shows US West 2. So I had to go change this to 1. And also this change this value here and change this value here also needs to change to match the actual access key. So I have the access key right here with me. I need to grab it from here and cut from here and place it right in that spot like this. And also my secret key. This line 24, I need to grab it, cut, and place it right in that spot in line number 10. Line 10 will contain my access key, secret access key, and paste. So now it contains my secret. Now these 2 lines are superfluous, so I'll get rid of those. And now my file is reasonably in decent shape. Knife configuration. I still have this change this and this change this and this change this. Yeah, you can keep them. But right now we are not using these clouds, Rackspace and DigitalOcean. We're not using, we're just focusing on the Amazon cloud. So line 13 and below are not going to be invoked at all because we are not going to play with those clouds. And by the way, a word of caution, this Rackspace cloud started charging $50 for no good reason. Like the moment you start a machine, they charge you 50. So I would suggest you don't waste money. So yeah, don't play with them. Yeah, here, I just delete that. Unless you want to give them 50, you go and give it to them, but I wouldn't waste money. So if you happen to have an account from your company, go ahead and use it. No problem there. But I don't like wasting money, so I just deleted that line. So now here, you can add other clouds, add other cloud credentials. And from other companies, why do I type so bad? Okay, come on. Yeah, you know, I'm what I mean to say is cloud credentials. I'm getting rid of this line. So you can add other cloud credentials for knife, whatever cloud name, and get the appropriate credentials from that particular cloud and save it in this file. So I have this one line number 13 that I want to keep because I will do the DigitalOcean exercise also, or an Azure exercise as well coming up soon in the sequence. So we'll run the same exercise, multiple clouds, get to a point where we can see how it plays out across a variety of clouds. But that's why I want to leave this line 13 as is, not change it. But we are going to use line 9, 10, 11. That's our focus right now. So we'll save it. And close this knife configuration quickly. Don't leave it open. For a simple reason that you and I are humans and we make mistakes. And so we can do fat finger something. And, you saw me do that mistake last time, right? So fat finger something and it causes trouble. And, you're doing it first time, you're already anxious to make it succeed. And then it doesn't work and it's difficult. I mean, I must admit. And so that's why I suggest that you keep files that you don't need, close them down. Control W, easiest way to close them. And so Control W, close the window, particular window for that particular file goes away. Don't leave it open. The more you leave things open, the more likely you are going to hit it with accidents like fat finger. And so Control W, quit. Leave it like this so you can see and come out. Now back here on the command line, we are in the right location, the chef repo location. So you always will work in that location. In the example context of the example that we're dealing with, you will work inside that folder as we go along. Now, let's see the next step. So we updated our knife RB for including the credentials, like this, change this thing that I got, and I placed that in the right spot. And we are going to now proceed to the next step. So we saw knife RB, we checked it for accuracy and it looked like that and all that good stuff. We go to the next unit and find out what the next step is, which is we want to add knife plugins for a variety of cloud providers. What does this mean? Let's find out. So we go to GitHub, and in there, we do a search on knife plugins or just knife. So you search knife, and you will find a whole bunch of projects saying knife this, knife that. And I think this is the wrong way of searching. So let's go to the subset of github.com/chef. That's a proper subset. So go to this location, not chef cookbooks, but just chef. Go to this location and then do the search on knife, like here. Search this organization for chef software organization, search for knife plugins. That's what we are looking at, is to how many plugins from how many different cloud companies are already here. And that is what I want to search for. So I'm searching, and that was the wrong spot to search. Apparently search goes here, it seems. And we don't see anything. Interesting. I think they reorganized the layout of the plugin somewhere. So we have to maybe do a Google search. Knife, chef, knife plugins. And so here, custom knife plugins and community knife plugins, they keep rearranging stuff occasionally. And so here are the list of plugins available. And let us go see what these guys are. So here is a plugin available for what am I looking at? Community plugins. That's a better way to look at. Yes, here. So here are lots of different plugins available. You can see knife audit, knife bare metal cloud, knife batch, knife block, knife brightbox, bulk change environment, knife canon, CFN, Cisco, ASA, cleanup, CloudStack, Fog, CloudStack, Community Cloud, DigitalOcean, EC2, AMI, Ubuntu, knife ELB, knife ENV, ESX. This is VMware ESX server. Knife Gandhi Cloud, Gather, GitHub Cookbooks, KVM. You can do KVM Linux support direct on Linux boxes if you like. You can use knife to work with a variety of other tools. Red Hat Network, knife, RightScale, which is a nice service that allows you to manage multiple clouds. You can use this plugin with that cloud, with that capability of RightScale. We have more goes on. Knife Server, there is SoftLayer for IBM. We know your Christopher is working with SoftLayer all the time. So this may be a good one to look at, Christopher. Chris works with IBM currently. And so that's a product that Knife Solo, we have used it already, this one, and goes on. It's a long list. So the bottom line is we have to appropriately incorporate the correct plugin for us to use. And so we want to actually use this plugin called Knife EC2 so that we can use the Amazon cloud with Knife. That plugin I want. And I also want to get this plugin, and I will also add the Azure plugin later on. But for right now, just these plugins. So I would like to get Workshelf, Chef, Rack, and Knife EC2. And so I will create a gem file that looks like this. I'll copy this.
What about Google Cloud? That's the cheapest one altogether.
I know, that is also there. So
it is? Okay, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it may not be in that list, but there's a Knife Google.
$40 a terabyte. You can't beat it.
I know. So Knife Google is right here. $40 a terabyte to do what?
Oh, just basic. Actually, I can't remember what speed tier the storage that is, but it's the cheapest I've found anywhere.
So if you are interested in storage, let me give you unlimited storage. How about that? I'm not kidding. Serious.
Free. Hook me up.
For free. Yes. Yes. Since you are a student at Cloud Genius, Google wants to give you unlimited storage. And all of you have it already, except Christopher. And so I will make it available.
Oh, yeah. I've been busy working. I'll get. Will you post that again so I can go sign up?
Yes, I will have to enable that, and I'll. After the session, we'll talk. I have to make you click a couple of things, walk you through, and then you get unlimited space in Google Drive, like absolutely unlimited. And if you feel that you're feeling short on unlimited, I will double your storage. Don't worry. That was a joke. Okay. So Google is nice. They give you access. Just remember that if they stop giving this to you or they go out of business, please don't call me. I can do nothing about it. But we are a school. They give it to us. We give it to you. So take it. So Knife Google plugin available. You can absolutely use it. It works. And so is Knife Azure, and so is DigitalOcean and Vultr, and everybody has their own plugin. So it is in the interest of Google company to create this plugin. So by the way, these guys that you're looking at, probably one of them is a Google employee, I suspect. So maybe this guy. Maybe now we have to find out who these guys are, and they're basically helping create appropriate software so that people using Chef can use their cloud. It is in their interest. So that's what cloud companies do, is they volunteer to create plugins so that people who want to use Chef or Ansible or Puppet or this or that can actually use that cloud. So here I am going to create a gem file with this collection right now. And I will put that gem file in our folder, that same folder we are working on, right? So I'll copy this whole thing, go to that folder in here, and there I don't have a gem file, so I'll create one. And in there, I want to create a new file, not type a command. So file, new, not new window, oops. First of all, this VM is slow, and then it is wasting my time, and ouch. Ouch. Now that's the hard part of dealing with virtual machines, is that they can be slow. Slow. Wow. Okay, I want you to go away, please. That's why I'm very, very careful with VMs, because they can hurt and waste time, which is craziness. Why do it visually? I'm not even touching Atom. I'll just deal with this, like, touch gem file and edit the gem file right here and just paste it like that. That's a whole lot easier method. I just created the gem file and save it. So now I have it there. So I can see my gem file. It is right here. And that's what I wanted to have. So I have it. Now I will put this window on the side, then it doesn't come in the way. And you go on the side, and you terminal, please come on the other side. So both side by side, we have a gem file that you can look at, and I'm going to bundle. So when I bundle, it will grab those gems. If they're missing, they will be downloaded, installed, set up, ready to use. And if they're already here, that's a good news. So we might just speed it up, and it'll come back saying, yeah, we already have it. Looks like it is downloading certain gems that are not here. And so it did download those missing ones. And you can see that it is bringing down the missing items. And then it will finish soon, and then we can proceed with the next step. So whenever this thing comes up with native extensions, that piece is going to take time, like 2 to 3 minutes for the compilation process to finish. You might notice that it might occasionally run you into error. That error happens primarily because you have not given enough memory to the virtual machine. So if you have given it like 2 GB or 4 GB, that 4 is great. 2 can be a problem. I'm just cautioning you. If that turns out to be a problem, whenever you see a bundle install step and you see this native extension reference, it is basically running a local compiler, compiling that software that is available and bringing native code, creating native code for your machine, for the target machine, which takes time. It also requires more memory. And since some of you may not have given more memory to this virtual machine, it might fail. And it will fail after 3 minutes or something like that. It'll cause you frustration for no reason. So if you have more memory, bump it up, give it more, give this VM some more than what you have given, and try it again. It will succeed. If all things fail, if it does, then I will give you a new EM, a new virtual machine that will have the thing already loaded, because I have more RAM that I can build it for you and give it to you ready-made with all the gems loaded up, preloaded. And that I will go to that step if needed. But right now, I think you will have success yourself if you give, say, 4 GB RAM to the VM. That will be ideal. And by the way, just for this step, that build step, the native extension step, that's the only step that requires more RAM. So after that step is over, you can revert back to smaller memory, and that's no problem there. So that, in my case, it took me like a 2-minute step and it finished. Now that we have it installed, all those gems, I need to proceed to the next step. But what I'm really doing is preparing my setup, my knife configuration, my bundle, and I want to do a favor to myself and to you. And that favor essentially comes from this fact that we have done so much work up until now. Gather the credentials, build this, do that, and download the entire Chef repository from Chef server, and put all these things together. And it is, let's say, boring work. Actually, it is quite boring. Just putting things together, like what did we do here is, grab this, grab that. It's pretty boring. So what I'm suggesting is that you please close out on these windows and take a snapshot of the machine. Because many of you, and I have seen this from experience, many of you actually will run this exercise multiple times until you get it. And this is proceeding towards a fairly elaborate exercise, as we have discussed the last time, and we are doing it. We are going to do it slowly and steadily, but absolutely surely, and ideally multiple times, until we really understand the concepts behind it, and make this thing run on a variety of clouds and all that good stuff. Because that's the motions that you have to go through to make it clear and automated at the end of the game. At the end of the game, you should have just one command to run, and that brings up the entire stack and makes it go live. That's our idea. That's the outcome we want to build, but it doesn't come for free. There is some steps involved, some work involved to make it happen. And we want to cut down our grunt work. And that is why I suggest this step, which is take a snapshot of your workstation. What does that mean? It means you basically take a picture of the entire setup that you have and keep it safe. How do you do that? You just go to VMware, what is this thing called? Oracle VirtualBox. And in there, you will have to go to this interface. Oh, okay, I think I shut down that interface by accident. So I would have to shut this machine down, which I think is a good approach. So I'm shutting this machine down and taking a snapshot. So shut down properly and then take a snapshot of the machine as it currently is. That's a good point in time, snapshot. So I want to take that snapshot after I shut down this machine itself. And then I start my Oracle VirtualBox. Then I look at a particular button. The button that you can see is this other corner called snapshots. And I have taken a snapshot called initial. I took that 8 days ago, it seems. I want to take a current state snapshot as is it is right now. And to take a snapshot, you just press the camera button here, click, and then give it a name. What is the name I would like to give? I'll say chef is ready. That's what I would like to call it. So I know that I have done all the work, all the grunt. Basically, I'm capturing all the grunt work, keeping it safe, and say, okay. And one thing I forgot before I took the snapshot, but it's not a big deal. I just want you to remember, is that before you take the snapshot, you should test for a couple of things. Like, for example, is the machine able to connect to the Chef server? Is your machine able to connect to the Amazon cloud? Those 2 checks we should do before we take a snapshot. Now, I'm reasonably confident that I don't need to test because I think I did not make a mistake in my configuration, in my collection of things that I have, so I should be okay. But before you take a snapshot, before you are going through this motion, I think it's a good idea to test your connections between your workstation and the Chef server. Test your connection between your workstation and the Amazon cloud as such. I'm not talking about a machine in the cloud. I'm talking about the account, the place where you have opened an account with the Amazon company, the Amazon Web Services account. That's what I'm talking about. So for that, you need to open that same folder again and make sure that these connections are validated, that you are able to properly connect to the, first of all, go to the Chef repo. And then from here, you want to be able to make sure that you are correctly connected to the Chef server and to the cloud-wide access to your Amazon account. And we can test that. And there are some steps here, how to test, that are probably not written down, which I think I should write down. So I should write those test steps right here before you take a snapshot, you test. But I think I have them written next, which is what I think I have to go rearrange that sequence a little bit. I will rearrange that sequence. But here is the test step. Let's try to make sure that we are able to connect with the Amazon cloud. So that's what I intend to do with the Amazon cloud. I want to connect and test out, show me how many EC2 servers do I have? That's the question I'm asking. Hey, Amazon, show me how many EC2 servers do I have? Knife EC2 server list. Give me a list of all the servers in the EC2 cloud. And if you run this command, it will give you that list. As simple as that. And you will prefix with a bundle exec. The bundle exec knife EC2 server list, copy. Go to your terminal, and in there, you paste it. Plain and simple. Show me all the servers I have in my Amazon cloud. Boom. It will go to the Amazon cloud and tell you that you have nothing, because I have nothing. So it is connecting to the Amazon cloud, and it will come back with a report saying that you have nothing. And you just saw that. It told you that instance ID and name and public IP and private IP and all this is empty, because that's what you have, nothing. If you go to the Amazon cloud here and go to the EC2 section, you will find that in the EC2 section in the Northern California region, I have no machines, no servers, 0 running. You can see it right here, 0. And therefore it is reporting nothing. But it connected successfully. So you know that it is working. The connection seems to work. Nice. Now I want to check my connection between this machine and the Chef server. How do I do that? Very simply, I will say bundle exec. So Chef server is used to store our kitchen, right? So you store their cookbooks, you store your rolls, you store whatever you have in the kitchen, you just push it push it. There is a way to send your kitchen. And an easy way to check whether the correction is in place or not is to see how many cookbooks do I have there. And if you have some cookbooks, it will show you that you have some cookbooks in the chef server. If you have nothing, it will show you that you don't have anything, which is fine. But right now, let us go test. So bundle exec knife, cookbook, list. Give me a list of all the books I have. Show me. So it goes to the chef server and comes back with a long list of all the books that I have had there kept from the last exercise, which I ran some time ago. And this is the list that pops up. So lots of cookbooks. And I want to begin from fresh. So I want to delete all of them. So I'll say bundle exec, knife, cookbook, bulk, delete. I think that's the command. I'm not sure I remember it, but let's try. Typing mistake. Okay, I'll break it. And then run it again. Knife, cookbook, space, bulk, delete. By the way, there's a cheat sheet I have created for you so that you will remember. You don't have to remember these things. The cheat sheet is what I should look at. So somewhere around here in the sequence, you will find a cheat sheet. Let's go to the cheat sheets right there, here. So this cheat sheet will give us a quick way to access all these commands. The cheat sheet for chef. So the first one, find out what's running on your cloud provider. Knife EC2 server list. Knife Google server list. Knife DigitalOcean droplet list. Knife Rackspace server list. Knife whatever cloud company, whatever the cloud company calls the machines, list. Like the DigitalOcean company calls their machines droplets. So you use the word droplet. It's more of a marketing gimmick there. EC2 calls it server. Azure calls it server. Google calls it server. So most clouds call it server, but DigitalOcean is different. Whatever. So just use the appropriate plugin and say knife EC2 or knife cloud company, whatever your thing is called, list. Show me a list of whatever your thing is. Hey, cloud company, give me what you got. That's the way to test the connection between you and the cloud company. Now let's see more. We have another cheat sheet here. So bulk delete. Where is the bulk delete thing, right? I want to get the bulk delete, all of those guys. There we go. So here, the bulk delete command is knife cookbook bulk delete -y and with a .*. Okay, that piece was missing in my mind. So I will put that asterisk followed by .y .* and kill everything. So please go and delete all the cookbooks I have in the chef server. And so it says, I'm going to delete these guys. And I said, fine. And so it is deleting them. And so now all the old books that I have in the chef server, which I might have there from the last time I ran this exercise, I'm deleting them to make room for new ones. So that's what I'm doing right now. This step is not necessary, absolutely not necessary, but it helps you understand better. Therefore, I'm deleting them to make room and start clean like you have, clean, fresh start. So it is about to finish deleting and it will report back success in deleting everything, which is nice. Now I'll say, you know what, show me the list of all the books you got. And it'll say, I have nothing. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's what I'm expecting, is an empty response, meaning I have nothing. And I said, good, thank you. But all it did is to help establish our connection between this machine and the chef server, and also this machine and the cloud provider. The chosen cloud provider happens to be Amazon, like right there in the knife RB. And that is mentioned in line 9 through 11. That segment we have mentions a way to connect to the Amazon cloud. And not just Amazon cloud, but that specific region, US West 1 for me. If you have some machines in the US West 2 region, they will not show up because of line number 11. 11 will limit you to that region. If you have machines, other things going on in the other regions, it will completely ignore them and stay focused only on that line 11, that region that is mentioned in line number 11. That's what you should remember. It is basically tied to your chosen region right here. And right now you have nothing running, 0 instances running, and that's the result you got. So that's after these steps, you should now take a snapshot. Taking a snapshot before you verify connections is not the right idea. And so I should actually make that change in the writing here, which I mentioned that you should please take a snapshot, like right here. I should actually include the testing steps before you take a snapshot and then ask you to take a snapshot. But we have taken the snapshot and we have tested. So I'll skip forward. And if you get into this error, like authenticate failure, that basically means your key pair is broken. AWS was not able to validate. So this key pair is that lines number 9, 10, 11. That's what is broken if you don't have the appropriate key pair from the Amazon cloud or the other cloud. They will give you the same kind of error. Authentication errors will happen because the cloud doesn't recognize you. You need to know, or they need to know who you are, and they need to have your credit card with them. Next unit. Now what we want to do is to send our kitchen. We have this kitchen here, right? This kitchen is sitting. We want to send it to the cloud. To what? Not the cloud. We have to send it to the chef server. So we have to send these item by item, practically item by item. There is a catch-all command also. But I would actually, first of all, begin looking at whether I have my cookbook here, this cookbook, the starter cookbook. Do I have that with the chef server? The answer is no, you don't. So what do you do now? You say bundle, exec, knife, cookbook, upload, cookbook, upload what? The book called starter. And yeah, send it. So it sends. It'll pick up the book starter and send it to the chef server. It is sending right now. And I'll go, show me the list of all the books you have, and it'll tell me it has this book called starter, version 1. That's the version of the book that you sent. That's what is showing you the list of books you have in the chef server. You can also see this visually. By the way, this visual piece is available at manage.chef.io, and you should be able to see it visually as well if you log in here. And once you log in, what you should be able to see is go to the administration section, go to the right organization, and then go to your policy section and look at your cookbooks right there. And you have all the cookbooks here. The one I have is starter. I also have some roles from the last time. So I will delete those guys. So I'll say delete the roles. You can delete them visually if you like, or like click this button to delete that role particularly. And chef server has a bug. It has to be refreshed every time you delete something. Without a refresh, it will not let you delete the next thing. And then you have to refresh again in order for you to delete the other role. So I have this third role I'm deleting right now. And you can delete them on the command line or go delete them from the web interface. I also seem to have some data bags here. I will delete them visually and refresh, and also delete the other data bag right there. And let us see if I have some environments. And in the environment, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 environments. So I would like to delete them by command line. So I'll say bundle, exec, knife, knife environment list. What have we got? And so it will show us a list of all the environments we have. And there it is, 4 environments. Default environment is something that you cannot delete. So don't bother. It is given to you by default. These 3 that I have, dev and prod and stage, you can delete them. So how do you delete? You refer to the cheat sheet, which will tell you it's probably bundle exec knife delete environment and call dev. And so it will ask no such environment. Oh, directive typing mistake. Maybe I should just refer to the cheat sheet because it's hard to remember these things, right? So let's go cheat sheet and cheat sheet and delete. Delete what? Delete knife client delete. Oh, that's not knife environment delete apparently. That's the way to delete that. The delete an environment should be knife bundle exec knife environment delete, not delete environment, but environment delete. So syntax error. Environment delete and dev. That should delete it. Yes, please delete. And so, yeah, I deleted that one. Next one, I want to delete the other 2. Prod and third one also. Basically, I'm cleaning up right now in my chef server, and so that it makes room for what we want to do next, and also gives you a flavor of how to operate on the chef server from a command line as well as visually in a browser like this. The browser interface is kind of lame. I don't like it, but it's my preference to say that. You might actually like it, but most people that I know don't use the web UI. Maybe they are nerds like me. They just prefer to use the command line. So now we have cookbooks, 1 cookbook, roles empty, data bag empty, environment only 1 default, and that's what we got. And the administration section shows that you have the organization all set up and all ready to go. So that's what you see from the user, from the visual perspective. And now we'll go back to resume our step that we were on, back to where we were, which is on this step, upload your kitchen. So we uploaded our cookbook. What I want to do next is upload a role. This uploading the role part is kind of clumsy. That's the way to describe. It's clumsy. And you will see what I say that, why I say that is that this uploading the role that you want to have. There is a role, by the way, we have in our kitchen. There is a role called starter. That role I want to upload. And so the upload command itself is kind of clumsy in that, let me show you what I mean. So bundle, exec, knife, and then you would assume like knife, role, upload, starter, but that's not how the command is structured. It is structured differently. It reads something like this. Knife, a bundle exec knife, role from file. What? That's how it is structured. And there we go. That's how you have to write. Apparently, that's the syntax that Chef developers have chosen. And you can do nothing about it unless you go and modify Chef itself. But that's the syntax that we have to follow right now. It is not intuitive, clumsy, but that's what we got. So deal with it. Deal with it is the best way to deal with it. And so that's what you have to follow, is this way of operating when you want to send a role. Knife, role, from, file, roles, and give the file reference. That's the syntax. And I personally don't like it, but who cares? They don't care. So I shut up and do it. And so if I really, really want to change, I'll have to go and fight with them. And fight as in a GitHub battle. where I send in a pull request and they discuss this and debate that and all that good stuff. And I have to show the merit of this approach versus that approach and the impact it might have on other people and all that. But it's a battle, let's put it that way. So I'm not doing it right now. I'm rather just using it as is. Now, having said, I will like to see my role list. I'll just see that, copy it. And I will go back to my workstation, and here I will first of all upload my role. The role goes up to the chef server. I can see it visually, and I can see it command line. In the command line, I should see that I have a role there, which is nice. But that is again more of boring administrative stuff that we are doing right now. And we have sent our cookbook, we have sent our role, but let us now put this to use. I want to do something with it, right? So this time comes the fun part. The fun part is fun because, as you can see, in this step, we are not going to the Amazon console directly. We are going to look at it from a distance. We are not touching it. You see that there are 0 running instances. We don't need to create any instance at all, which is what we will do, is to not mess with the interface here at all. Just leave it alone. We can watch it, not messing with it. You go back to our command line and use the command line to start a new computer in the Amazon cloud. And then inject chef, as in prepare the machine, install chef, and then ask that machine to go to the chef server and pull down the cookbook, pull down the role, pull down the whole kitchen from the chef server, and then run chef. Run chef with what? I will give them a purpose in life. Yeah, I would like you to become this or become that. So that purpose in life has to also be provided in form of a run list. And that is our goal here. So if you look at this command, it's a multi-line command. And let's go see what it contains. So bundle exec knife, EC2 cloud, please create a server for me. That's what it will do, is create a server. And then it doesn't end there. You have to pass on these other arguments, like use the key pair that I have given you. So you know what, this key pair I have here, it has a name, not this one. Delete that one. I don't want it, so it goes away. I want this one, that ID underscore RSA name. That's the name. That's what I want to use. So this key pair, right? That's what I would like you to use. When you create a new machine, use that one. There may be more than one, right? I have this Nilesh thing there. I don't want you to use that Nilesh. No, not that. This one. So use that key pair because I have the corresponding private key with me. So that's what I'm referencing here, ID RSA. And also, I'm telling you that my private key sits in this location. And in case of Amazon's cloud, when you create a server and you decide to create an Ubuntu server, the username in Amazon is not root, but Ubuntu. So that's the name we have to pass on as the username. And then select the size of the machine, T2 micro. You can see the size here. As you go to DC2 dashboard and launch an instance, and the cheapest size you can get for Ubuntu is T2 micro. It is also eligible for free tier, which is a nice thing to have. So you should take this general purpose and say, yeah, that's the machine I would like to get. And I would like to get, by the way, you are not doing this from the browser. Don't do anything in the browser. I'm just showing it to you. What will actually happen is I want it to get a machine in that VPC. And if you go back a step, get T2 micro size. That's our idea. Now we'll cancel these steps. Go back to our write-up and read. The T2 micro size is what I want. Next one, I want to tell this machine that you have, when you become a full-fledged machine, I would like you to grow up to become this run list I'm passing the run list argument with a -r option. And I'm saying, you grow up to become role starter, meaning I would like you to take on that role which is assigned to you in this location. In the roles folder, there is a role called starter role. And all this role does is basically invokes a run list, which is to run the default recipe in the starter cookbook and provide an override attribute so that the starter name value becomes my name. This is the name, Nilesh L. They'll pick up that name as a expression that is called starter name. I'm providing that as an override. And then it will invoke the default recipe in the starter cookbook. Now let's go to the starter cookbook right there and look at the recipes in there and the default recipe. And the default recipe is what? It's pretty lame. It's just an example. It's like hello world, for example, right? Pretty much it. So it says welcome to chef, comma. It's basically going to put a log entry and say hello world in the form of saying welcome to chef, comma, node starter name. So it is going to basically evaluate that expression starter name, which is an attribute. The starter name is an attribute. It is defined in the attribute section, and in the default.rb file in the attribute folder, the starter name by default happens to be Sam Doe. That's the name that they have chosen by default. I want to override that name with a starter role. I have chosen the starter name to be my name, Nilesh L. And that is the override you will see happen when you invoke this particular role. And I'm invoking that role through this reference here, the starter role reference. And when you run that command, you will find that a new machine gets created in the Amazon cloud with the public key that they already have, and connect it with the private key that I'm passing as a command line argument. Use the user Ubuntu, T2 micro size, and when the chef gets installed, it will start to run. At that time, grab the entire kitchen from the chef server and take on this role. The role is the starter role, which is my run list. So this is my run list right here. And one thing that I have been not discussing explicitly for now is this item. What is this thing? That is something that you have to call out very clearly, explicitly, and be clear about what image do you want this T2 micro machine to use. And we would like to stick to the generic Ubuntu images. For example, if you go Google and say Ubuntu AMI Finder, you will reach this place, which is a global repository of all the Ubuntu images available for the Amazon cloud in the entirety. And so if you scroll to the very bottom of it, and you have to go narrow down, there are 440 entries apparently. And you want to narrow it down to the cloud of your choice. So we are currently in US West 1. So that's my node. So that's my zone. So I'll select that, click, and I narrow down my entries to 36 entities here. And these are the images available in a variety of operating system versions, all for Ubuntu in the California region. So I narrow it down like this. First of all, the US West 1 chosen. Nice. Next, what I want to do is in the US West, let's stick to that, stick to US West 1. And then what I would like to do next is to select the operating system version. The latest version of operating system that we have, that is LTS, long-term supported version, is 1604. So we'll go to 1604 long-term support, and we will narrow it down further by 1604 LTS. So click on that. We further narrow it down to 4 entries. That's what we would like to see. So US West 1 and 1604 LTS gives us 4 choices. Now we'll further narrow it down. You will see that there are these 4 choices that are available, and here are the AMI ID numbers for them. These AMI ID numbers are the ones we have to select, but we don't know which one to select, which is the right one to select. Actually, all 4 of them are correct. However, this instance store instance type it contains ephemeral disk. So the disk will go away after you terminate the machine, which is not what we want. So we would like to stick to the other 3. And here you see that there are EBS SSD type. So that's one thing that I would like to select in a solid state disk. Elastic block storage, solid state disk is something that I would like to have. However, I also see that there is an HVM EBS SSD. And HVM happens to be hardware virtual machine, which is a newer format of the virtualization engine. And that is what I would like to actually prefer over this EBS SSD. So I might select this one specifically because it is giving me HVM, hardware virtual machine, EBS, elastic block storage in the SSD disk type. And that is what I would like to select. So I will narrow down my choice to this item number, AMI, whatever I have here. I will copy it and use that exact number in my command, which is this number here. So I will need to replace that one with the one I just found out from my AMI finder, this number. There is a shortcut way to getting to this number already. It may not be exactly the same number, but it will also be a number that will work. The shortcut is to just click here, launch an instance, and read the number right here. Now it may so happen that the number might match, which it did, but sometimes this number is not matching with what you find in the Ubuntu AMI Finder for a simple reason that Amazon can be slower to pick up the latest images from Ubuntu. And so right now there is no time delay. You have the latest image showing up here. That is what you see here as well, which is what we want to use. And that is the portion of ID, AMI ID that I want to grab and keep it in my copy buffer and go back to this command and actually use that specific item in my command line. So I'll grab all this in my copy buffer, go to my terminal, open a new tab in the Atom editor, like file, Atom, file, new file. And in that new file, I will paste whatever I have. And then I'll go back to my AMI Finder. In the AMI Finder has given me this number. Ubuntu AMI Finder has given me this A2AFB, whatever E4A number, AMI ID. I want to use that ID. And it is matching my Amazon chosen region of US West 1. So I will delete that number, which by the way matches the Oregon region, because the example that I have written down on the website happens to be Oregon, but the exercise I'm doing right now happens to be in California. So this number matches California. Now that we have this command put together, that actually is going to create a server for us in the cloud of your choice, which is EC2, uses the public key, the private key for connection, the Ubuntu user, the correct machine image, the correct size that we want, and a role starter as your run list, line number 7. Now that this is put together in form of a command, I would like you to remember one thing, which is this is a multi-line command, which means any line that is not the last line has to end with a slash. And when I say end with a slash, it means end with a slash. That means it is a trailing slash. It means there is nothing after the slash. I mean, if there is something after the slash, for example, there is a space after the slash or something else like 3 spaces after the slash, and you try copying that and try running it, it will not work. You have to have absolutely nothing after the slash. That is critical. It is supposed to be a trailing slash. Trailing as in the very last thing in that line. And that's what you have to make sure that it is a last thing in the line as you copy and paste. Atom will help you. Atom will guide you in that. If you, or rather the website also does the same thing. This website that you have already shows you that there is nothing after the slash. As you highlight it, you can see that visually. And then this is the last line to grab. So you grab these things, you put back in the Atom editor. Now you have it there. You have modified your AMI number, machine image number, to match your cloud chosen cloud or your region that you chose. And you will grab all these lines together in one shot, and you copy them. And by the way, this command itself, it's a good idea to just save it so that you can save it and use it later. You save that in a file called readme and just save it. So it helps you revisit the command that you typed, and that command is available right there for you to consume as you go along. So this command is modified to suit your design. So I am going to grab that, select all, and copy the command. So I copied the command. I will now run that command in our terminal. How do you run it? Basically right click and paste. So I will paste, and you will see what happens. It's expected, which is it will start a machine in the Amazon cloud. It will then install Chef, or rather it will use the public key private key pair that you have to connect to it. It will then go to Chef company, or rather GitHub, and download Chef software, install Chef on that machine, then start running Chef. As Chef starts to run, it will pass on your knife RB. It knows where the Chef server is. So it will go to the Chef server, grab the kitchen. Entire kitchen comes down. And then it will look at your run list. What does the run list say? Take on the starter role. The starter role, what does it say? Override by name. You can see these things here. You can see that these things are defined in our starter role right here. The starter role is defined as this thing. So override it by my name, and then run your default recipe in the starter cookbook. So all you will see at the end of the Chef run is a log entry. The log entry will show you your name. Welcome to Chef, comma, your name. That's the entry you're expecting to see at the end of this run, but you will see that entry in the Chef command as it invokes on a freshly created machine that will get created through Chef Knife plugin for our chosen cloud, which happens to be Amazon EC2, Northern California, US West 1 region right now. So I paste and then watch the fun. So let's see what happens now. It will do exactly what I just said. It is connecting to the Amazon cloud, US West 1 region. It is using the default security group. It is using private key, public key, key pair IDRSA. It is going to generate a T2 micro machine using the machine image that I have chosen. It is now waiting for the machine to create, and the machine gets created, and it gets a public IP. It also gets a private IP. Now it is waiting for the machine to boot start and start the SSHD daemon to become available. Once that machine gets ready and its SSHD gets running, this instance of bundle exec blah 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 will SSH connect to that machine using your private key that you have provided right here. It is currently waiting for SSHD to become available. It became available. So it connected a new client entry in the Chef server, a new node entry in the Chef server, and then connected to the machine itself. In that machine, it is going to install Chef, which is what we expect. It is currently installing Chef right now. And then it is going to run chef. When it runs chef, it is going to grab the run list, the kitchen, the entire thing. And then what does it do? It does exactly what you told it to do, which is log action right there. Welcome to chef Nilesh. This is what we are expecting to see. And we saw that. We saw that the starter role got picked up. The starter role modified the attribute called starter name. And so you do not see Sam Doe here. You see Nilesh. And you see welcome to chef, because that's a log entry we are expecting to see, and chef reports success. At the end of this run, you see a new instance getting created. And you can see that instance in the Amazon cloud right here. And then EC2. And in EC2, you will find a new machine there. It will show up as running, one running instance. So you click on it, and you will find the machine itself. And the machine is this one. It is currently running, and it has all the characteristics that you expect, like exactly what you just told, which is it has to be in your default VPC using the subnet that you have, the private IP, public IP, your IDRSA key pair. It has a T2 micro size, T2 micro, which is what we chose. It is also running this AMI ID that you chose. It is your HVM SSD based Ubuntu Janial 1604. And what you have is a machine exactly like you wanted, and running, and chef ran to do exactly what you told it to do right there. Now let's go see our chef server. Here, visually, chef server, go to the policy section, and here you will find there is a client entry for the machine that just got created, which is this entry. And it has this number 424B. Let's go match it. So it should match 424B right there. So that's the machine you see here in our policy section for clients. You also see a bunch of other things, which I need to delete them, but you can ignore them. Maybe I'll just delete this web server. Delete. And the database server. But the result we expected was this particular node got created, and a client is running and identified by that name. That name of the machine happens to be the instance ID, which is assigned here. This instance ID is matching what you see in chef. Also, you will notice that in our role, we have a role called starter. In that role, if you expand it, this starter role, you will see that you can edit the role, and this role is something that what got invoked. If you decide to modify your run list that you have, the current run list that you have is the starter run list, right? If you want to change this a little bit, and I'll show you what to change and why to change. You will see the impact of changes as we go do this. In our kitchen right here, you have invoked this particular command using the starter role. Here you can modify whatever else you want. Let's say you want to change something, you could. And so that will be a trivial step to change something, like here, make it Chris Snook, for example. And since you're making a change in this particular run, you want to save this and then upload the updated role to the chef server. So you need to go here in this location and make sure that you upload your new role. excuse me, this new role has to go up. So which means it boils down to bundle exec knife role from file and then roles starter. And this new role is getting updated now. So the chef server should show us a new role. So this role will get updated as you expand the details of this particular role and go edit. And the starter current run list is the starter run list. Hold on. Let me go check the roles. Starter, expand, edit. It doesn't let us see the thing visually, whatever we updated. So I wanted to see the name Chris Snook here, but it did not show us that. But bottom line is, if you want to run Chef again, the trick is to run Chef on its own automatically every so often. Now, if you run the same command that we have here in our README file that we have saved, if you run that command again, what do you think will happen? Will it run Chef again? Yes. Will it run Chef again on the same machine? No. It will create a new computer and a new machine will run Chef this time, because the command is to create a server. It is not a cook command. It is not a command to invoke Chef, just Chef, but to create a server. As you can see, line number 1 says that, create server. And so that is what will happen if you run this command again. You will have another machine. But that may not be the desired goal. If you want to run Chef, you want to write a cron job that runs on every machine that you want Chef to run periodically. And that is something I want you to remember. Just running this same command is not going to accomplish, because this command doesn't actually just run Chef. It does a whole lot more things, like create a machine, install Chef, and then run Chef. And when Chef runs, it goes to the Chef server, grabs the kitchen, identifies the purpose in life, the run list, and then invokes the run list and runs Chef. And then you see the result happen. That's what we just did. Now we should take a short break and jump onto the bigger exercise. So I am pausing for questions if there are any, and then I'll start a short break and resume with the larger exercise. I think that's the next step, if I remember right. Maybe I'm missing something here. Am I? Probably not. Yeah, there's a cheat sheet. We already discussed that. I'm not going through the cheat sheet. You can play with it. There is basically step-by-step written down as to how you do stuff. You do this, do that, delete this, create this. So basically how to operate on the Chef server. This is short cheat sheet here. You can always find more on the Chef repository. And now we will begin the bigger exercise, which is fairly elaborate, fairly long and involved. Here's a video walkthrough, 2 hour long, 2 hour, 18 minutes long, which does not include any question answers. So that was a discussion I had with the people who were doing, I think, a couple of times ago. And I told them, let us do this whole thing again. So we did this exercise like twice because people wanted it. So I did it again. This was on a Saturday, a special day, extra day. And so what we did was to make sure that we are not asking any question answers during the session. And then basically I went nonstop, end to end, as people participated along. And it took me 2 hours and so minutes. That's what you're looking at, 13 minutes. That's what you're looking at. That's basically a helpful reference for you to make use of if you need. But I'm not going to play that video here. I'm going to actually do this exercise right here with you. And I would like you to also do this and catch me on Slack chat or one-on-one as you need, and make sure that you actually complete this exercise. Because this is the one exercise that I would like you to really, really do. And having said that, I would now take a break right here. So setting a timer, 7 minutes. If you want to adjust the time to 7 to something different, tell me. But I think 7 minutes works okay for most people. So setting the timer for 7 minutes and off we go. There we go. So we started. The break started. Okay, guys, I'm back. Just checking you guys. Okay, I think you guys are back, so I should proceed. I am going to proceed with the marathon exercise as you seen already briefly. But before I go that direction, I would like to just play with this current exercise just a little bit, just a little bit. What I want to do is bundle exec knife ec2 server list. I would like to see what do I have running in my cloud. You can see that right now. It'll show you. You have one machine running, it'll report back that detail, and that's what popped up. You will also see that this describes the machine that we have running in our cloud right now. It shows you the instance ID, the name of the machine, its public IP, private IP, flavor, machine image, key name, and security group used. And its current state seems to be running. So it is active and running. It shows you this machine is currently running. You can also, what you can do is bundle exec knife ec2 server delete. You can run delete command also, but before you run the delete command, you need to know the machine name, machine ID. And so that's what I forgot to copy. I need to grab the instance ID right there. I need to grab that, copy, and then I want to kill that machine. You can kill it by running bundle exec knife ec2 server and delete. And the syntax I always forget, but it'll help us even if you make a mistake. I think there is some machine -s option and the ID option. You have to pass the exact machine name instance ID that you want to kill. And then this will delete that ID. That particular machine will be dead. I think that's the way to delete, but I may be wrong. Since I don't remember these commands, and yes, I am wrong. So let's go find out what's the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to go look at the cheat sheet. And in the cheat sheet, you will have, where's the cheat sheet? In here. A delete command should be defined here, delete server. So let's go find delete server. And delete a server, knife is do server delete, and then ID number. That's it. There's no -s reference separately. Okay, so we will not type the -s reference instead. Instead, just type without the -s. So that -s option is probably for some other cloud. Some other clouds require it slightly differently. I think it's the DigitalOcean reference that I may have remembered incorrectly. And so this command should delete the EC2 server. It'll actually ask you, do you want to delete this guy? And I will say, yeah, I know. That's the one I want to delete because I know I want to delete that particular instance ID. And I'll say yes. And I'm basically cleaning up. So when I kill that machine out, it tells me something. It tells me that it deleted the server, which is good. Deleted the server. Nice. And so from our Amazon's interface, you should see that the server is dead. This shows running, but as soon as I refresh my browser, it should show that that particular instance is terminated. And I'm expecting to see that terminated state showing up. And right there, shutting down and eventually get terminated. It is shutting down right now, which is good. But a couple of things that you will notice are still leftover entries, like the client entry here is still leftover. And there's a node entry also probably leftover. So you want to get rid of these entries also. And there is a systematic way of doing that without having to visit a web browser. And that method is what they're complaining about, this warning sign. It says corresponding node entry and the client entry for this particular server were not deleted and remained registered with the chef server. So there is an entry that is left unused that needs to be deleted for cleanliness that we haven't yet cleaned up. So it's a good idea to clean that. How do you clean? You basically remember that node ID number that you want, or the client ID number that you want, or instance ID number that you want. You want to keep track of this, copy, and say bundle exec knife node delete, and then the number. Paste. So you're deleting that node entry. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to do that? And recent versions of Chef have actually improved in that it deletes that entry, and you also delete the client entry apparently. That will also delete like the node entry. There is a client entry which needs to be deleted like this, and that should delete the client entry as well. And I'll say yes to it. So it deleted both entries. They should disappear now from the web browser interface. You should see that this entry should go away as you refresh. I will also like to delete the other two entries for no reason, because they are stale entries from old exercises. So I will refresh and also kill the web server entry, which is the last entry remaining there. I don't need it. It goes away. And same with my client entries here. Yeah, we have that taken care of. Nodes are all gone. And our role, we have starter role. Our cookbook, we have starter cookbook. That's our current state. Environments, we have a default environment. That's all we have right now. And we have basically cleaned up. This machine is terminated, and we can run our command one more time, which is show me all the servers I have. And so it shows you that you have a dead server, which is kind of strange if you ask me. Why do you want to show me a dead server? This shows you terminated. And this terminated state is showing up because at least for 1 hour, Amazon Cloud decides to show that terminated machine for 1 hour after termination. And then even this display will go away. This entry will disappear. And the corresponding entry on the Amazon Cloud will also disappear after 1 hour after termination. And that's what we were able to operate on this particular exercise using a variety of scenarios. And now we will begin the bigger exercise. Now that we have understood how Chef Server works, what we want to be able to do is operate on a larger exercise. So that larger exercise is fairly elaborate. It might take a couple of sessions. In probably today and the next one. So we have still 1 hour left. So we can do substantial amount of work in the 1 hour. And so I will actually, first of all, begin describing you what that exercise is, which I think I did briefly, but I'll quickly recap what we discussed. Is what does this exercise do? That's what I want to say. So there are steps to do, of course, always, but I want to understand the bigger picture. So that's what we are going to do, is describe the bigger picture. The bigger picture looks like this. My goal with that exercise is to make sure that you completely understand how to use the chef tool in this example to operate on a variety of clouds. So it doesn't matter which cloud, practically speaking. You bring your cloud, bring your app, and with app, you will get a set of dependencies, and data, database, files, stuff, whatever you have, you put them all together. That's your app. And you bring your app, you bring your cloud, and use these tools. Use tools like Chef, for example, or Ansible, or Puppet. Bring any tool, like use selected tool, use selected chosen tool. You choose your tool, you bring your app and bring your cloud. And now do what? What do we do with it? We want to have this customer, make them happy by giving them your app running in your cloud. This is your app. That's our outcome. We want to get that app ready for the customer. And we want to do this in a fairly systematic manner, in that we will be sitting here on our laptop, and through that we will orchestrate. And we'll make this end result happen. Our end result is to make the customer happy. That's what we want to make sure that this happens. And keep them happy. Not just make them happy, but keep them happy. Maintain the state of happiness. Maintain happiness is our goal. Not just make them happy, but keep them happy. That's what we want to be able to orchestrate customer happiness using our Chef server, for example. And we will have our desire called out, written down here, uploaded to the Chef server. And then we run some magical command here, knife. Do this in my cloud. And then, we are done, basically. That's what we want to accomplish. At that time, when we invoke this magical command, magical, it's not magic. Yeah. So we invoke some command and, things happen. The end result happens. The customer becomes happy. And you set Chef to run by itself over every so many minutes, for example. And so then happiness will be maintained, because this thing will keep running over and over again, and it will again make sure that the customer desire, this is not your desire, but it's actually what the customer wants. That's what you want to put here in the kitchen. Whatever the customer wants is what your desire becomes. Not your desire, it's actually the customer desire. Customer wants this. So you define that right down here in your kitchen, and then you upload your kitchen, and that becomes the desire. And then you say, okay, do this. So it happens, and it runs by itself. So it maintains the desire, maintains customer happiness. That's the bigger picture. Now, we will take an example app. We'll take one of the most comprehensive applications called WordPress, which is deployed about 30% of clouds worldwide. Let's go see that number. How many sites run WordPress? Let's see. Some exorbitant number will come out. There we go. 74 million websites. That is one site per person in Turkey. So yeah, it's a fairly popular software. No doubt about it. This software is open source. You can see it on GitHub. And that is WordPress. It is created by this person, ma.tt. That's his website, Matt. Matt Mullenweg created this software. This is not his picture, by the way. He's a young guy. He's like 30s. Where is Matt about? So yeah, this is not his. He's probably younger picture, but that's him. So this is Matt who created WordPress. It is used by 26% of the web. And that is phenomenal if you think about it. Just one software running 26% of the internet is kind of crazy. So it's a fairly elaborate app. It is available in this location. You can read about the application itself in this location. This is where the source code is. However, this is the software. There is a corresponding website called WordPress.com, which is a software as a service. So WordPress.com is SaaS, software as a service. But this is not what we are dealing with. We are going to deal with WordPress as the tool, as the software itself, which is basically downloadable from this location. So you can click the download button right there. It will give you a zip file or a tarball, whatever you like. And that's what we will like to take and make it happen for our customer. Now, this application comes with a collection of things that are needed. So you can see that there are requirements. You need to meet those requirements. That's a necessary thing. And so the developers of this particular application are suggesting that you need to have these things. Right? You just saw that. That's what is required. And they're recommending some things, and so go do this and go do that. And if you further say that you want to ask for it, here's a letter you can write to your host. The letter is, I'm interested in running open source WordPress. I need to have PHP 7, MySQL 5.6, and the mod rewrite Apache module, HTTPS support. And you can have more things like, make it secure, make it fancy, and add more components, add more things, add more that. And all of that is a never-ending game, by the way. You can keep adding things to it. We'll begin with a minimal required set, which is what the WordPress requires. We'll begin with that and keep building, keep adding, keep making it more complex, more elaborate, more suited to what our customer requires. That's our idea. That's the goal we are trying to drive towards. So 26%, not 30, 26, which is still a big number. So this thing requires certain dependencies, like you saw. Dependencies are specifically, you have to have an operating system, a machine, and with an OS, and you have to have certain things and things and things. What are those things? They're generally called LAMP. What is a LAMP? LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 things are necessary for you to have on a machine, on top of which you can put WordPress right here. And then it will run. So we need to build these things one step at a time through automation. We need to build the machine through automation. We know how to do that by now. We know how to knife EC2 server create, knife DigitalOcean droplet create, knife Azure machine server create, knife Google server create. You can go create a machine. You got that. You can also select the appropriate operating system you would like to have, like Linux, for example. You can specify the version, the exact pinpointed version of Ubuntu 16.04 long-term support. Get me the AMI ID number, whatever number we got for our US West 1 region. Get me that image. You can specify these things. You know how to do that. So we have taken care of these 2 steps. But now comes the Apache part, the MySQL part, the PHP part, and those parts we have to put together in a layered fashion, like the LAMP stack. By the way, it doesn't have to be strictly LAMP. You can run it on WAMP, like Windows, Apache, MySQL, PHP. That also works. And also, it also works with this mode of operation, LEMP, where E stands for Nginx. And there is no E in Nginx, but that's how the name is pronounced. It is pronounced Nginx, but the spelling is Nginx. And so that's where this E comes from, LEMP stack. You can configure WordPress to run like LEMP also. And this M can also change. You don't have to have a LAMP stack. You can have LEMP stack. Similarly, you can have this M, not necessary to use MySQL, but you can also use MariaDB or other variations to it which are compatible. For example, there is an Amazon service which is, I think they have a name for it. I'm forgetting what name they use. So let's go find out. That is also compatible, by the way. So there's a database called RDS. What's the name of that thing? It's called Aurora. Yeah, this thing called Aurora is the name, apparently. So get started. And it says Aurora is a MySQL compatible enterprise class database, a tenth of the cost of commercial databases. Yeah, whatever. But we are talking about free and open source, right? So this is not open source, but yeah, good enough apparently. So we'll stick to this. This is open source, MySQL. Or Maria, both are open source. MariaDB is also open source. And MariaDB is actually good in that there is no Oracle connection. So this thing is owned by Oracle. So some companies don't like to associate themselves with big companies, and so because they come with their licenses, right? So yeah, that's what people want to avoid. So people who are wary of big companies like Oracle and Microsoft, and they want to stay away from that, they go here, MariaDB. Beautiful software, open source, and beautiful performance, and no commercial nature. So just open source. Use that one. That is actually a good one. I use this, by the way. I use MariaDB in our setup. But our exercises are set for this, which is also open source, but just some companies don't like it. It's mostly legal issue. So you don't have to worry about those aspects, at least in academic settings. It is also open source. Now, having discussed these things, back in here is these choices of databases that you will like to pick and choose. So you can choose, what was that thing called, Aurora. It might work. I have never tried it, but I'm pretty sure it will work. If you choose Aurora in place of this MySQL or Maria, that will also work. It's claimed to be compatible. This is the PHP language, which is what we need to also make sure that it is installed on our stack. So that layered approach that we are taking, we're going to build all these things together and get to a point where we can then install WordPress on top. And we want to do every single thing in the chef way. That in this exercise, we'll do it the chef way. The chef way to do things is, as you know already, there has to be a thing called run list. And in that run list, you specify things like, I would like to have this, I would like to have that, and I would like to have this. And these are references to some cookbooks, especially a recipe inside the cookbook. But you might have a default recipe, or you might have a MySQL cookbook with a recipe for server.rb. So you want to invoke that particular cookbook because you want to set up a SQL server, a MySQL server. So you want to set up a server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. So you may want to select that and put that in the run list. You also want to think about other dependencies like, PHP. So how do we want to get PHP in here? You can do that by calling out a PHP cookbook for PHP that's available there in the supermarket. You also want Apache, right? Apache server. So we know that there is an Apache cookbook already. We used it in the past. So use the Apache cookbook. So basically we have to grab this cookbook, this cookbook, this cookbook, and put them together in a Burks file. So in the Burks file, we'll put Apache, MySQL, PHP, and then run something like Burks update or Burks install. And that happens, it will go to the supermarket and grab the books and bring it down and all that good stuff. That's what we need to make happen. So in order for us to begin all these things, to make it, put that in motion, in actual action, we need to follow these steps. So we have to prepare our kitchen to work with Chef Server. We kind of sort of did that already, by the way. You have done this part already, as you know. You have downloaded that starter cookbook and all that good stuff, like starter cookbook and the starter role and all that. We played with it already, right? There is a role for starter. So you've done this part already. So we can skip ahead because we have it ready. We can skip ahead. And now we want to enforce version discipline, like gem file discipline, as you know already. And we want to do this exhaustively. And this is kind of a nightmare. We have 161 gems listed. This is the extent you can go, you should go to be very, very granular in specifying, calling out, and requiring exact versions of gems that you would like your team to use for this particular project. So this is more than just an example. This actually is something of a collection of gems that I know works. There are other things also that might work, but this is something that I have personally tried and tested, so I know it works. Of course, you can come up with something else that works, totally possible. Not that other things do not work, but this is something that I know works. That's how I would describe this thing. And this is a long gem file with 162 lines. It basically contains, maybe 163 lines, contains 161 gems. So let's go grab all of this and put that in a gem file. In our gem file, we have it already right there. So I'll grab all this from here, go all the way to the top, the big gem file, copy it, and go to our virtual machine here and open Atom Editor, which is right here. And in that editor, we have a gem file already. So we will knock it off. The U gem file, go away. I don't want you anymore. I want room. I want room for what? For this. What is this? 163 lines of what? Gem listings. I'm saving it. And I go to the top. And I find that I have at the very top a reference to Ruby Gems website and a version of Ruby called out, 231. This matches the version of Ruby you have here. Ruby version 231 matches. Now we will bundle, but before we bundle, remember that we have a gem file lock in place. So this file corresponds to the old gem file that was there already. So you want to delete that file. And now we have this, which is exactly what we will like to have. So we'll actually delete the cookbooks folder and roles folder also. We like to keep our chef folder, .chef folder. And so we will keep our .chef folder with these two critical files. We'll get rid of the cookbook folder, starter cookbook, get rid of the roles folder, starter role, and create fresh roles, fresh cookbooks, and other things as we go along. But right now, the gem file needs to be bundled up. Bundling is very simple. It is basically running the command bundle. And this step will take 10 minutes for bundling to happen. And I know I have done this so many times that I have actually automated this thing. The way I have automated is that all the gems that we need for this particular exercise are already bundled up and are a part of your virtual machine. So you don't waste time, and I don't waste time. So we'll just run it, and you will find that it magically tells you that everything is ready. So it will go do that right now. I hope. I mean, I'm sure it will happen like that, but it will go cross-check with Ruby gems and say that, yeah, we got 161 gems loaded up. Because I have done this and I already created a machine image for you that contains all these gems already loaded. So it will not waste your time. This will take like 10 to 15 minutes, and all the crunching of the compiler works, memory shortage, RAM shortage, all those issues pop up right at that stage. So I have resolved that issue at all. You don't have to worry about it. But I'm telling you these things because in real life, you will hit those issues. Right now, we did not hit it. We just said bundle complete, 161 gem file dependencies, and 161 gems now installed. That is magic. But in real life, it doesn't happen like this. You will have to hit your head on a hard object to make it successful. And the compilation might take time, it might take resource, might take CPU and memory, a lot of it. A lot of memory, at least 4 GB of RAM on the VM. And now that we have that step taken care of, we'll move forward with the next step, which is we now have a discipline set in our gem file. So we will make use of these things by running bundle install. And then I was talking about getting rid of the cookbook folder, getting rid of the raw starter role. So I'll do these things like delete the cookbook folder, delete the role, and also delete the known host entries. Right? This is necessary because you might have stale entries from a previous attempt. I just want to get rid of all those things right now. So I will do those things right now as we go along. What I will do is in my cookbook folder, I will get rid of the cookbooks completely. Say you go bye-bye. And also the role folder, you also go bye-bye. So I have deleted my roles as well as my cookbook folder. I will also delete my known host file. And here it is. So I deleted my known host. Now I have basically caught up with this step, which is okay, where is my mouse? There we go, mouse. And show me my desktop browser. There we go. And so here we want to create a fresh set of folders, basically empty, that will contain our roles, environment, data bags, site cookbooks, and cookbooks. So we want to create these folders again, empty. So we'll go like this. And then in our terminal, we'll say create these folders. So we'll say paste, and it creates the folders for us. You can see them in our Atom editor. Most of these folders are empty, which is expected. That's what we want. Empty cookbooks, empty data bags, empty environments, empty roles, empty site cookbooks. But .chef is not empty. Knife RB is still good. And our line number 7 actually makes sense now because we now have the site cookbooks folder in place. We did not have it before. Line number 7 actually calls out the site cookbooks folder and giving it precedence over the cookbook folder. And that is what I wanted to make sure that we have. So we have a site cookbooks folder where we will keep our own cookbooks right in that spot, this spot. And community generated cookbooks, we'll grab and put them in here. And that's how we will operate, as you know already. Now you will notice in our gem file that we do not have, hold on. Let me read what we have in our write-up in the website. That will tell us clearly as to what we want to be able to cover. So back to our website, we are going to see that we have these folders created. And then on the next step, it will describe the idea, which is to prepare your knife configuration, which I think we have done this already, but there are certain changes that I would like to make sure that they are incorporated. And those changes I would like to grab. How do you grab them? You basically grab this particular knife RB example. This example you have to grab from here, like this. Grab it, the whole thing. And all the way up to the end. And copy. And this is a slightly more elaborate version of the knife configuration. So we will go right in that file and compare with what we have already with what we want to have, which starts at line number 16. That is what we want to have in 16. So I'll paste it right here at 16 and start comparing line by line. So at the top, we have 1 through 13, lines 1 through 13, containing our current knife RB, and line number 16 contains our expected structure, future structure. So line 16 and line 1, they're the same. So I delete line 16. Line 16 and line 2 are the same, so I delete that. Same with 17. 18 is matching number 4, except 18 says your username, whereas 4 says my name, which is what I want to keep. So I get rid of 18 also. Line 5 matches line 19 structurally, not exactly, but I want to get rid of line 19 also. Line 20 matches line 6 structurally with a different URL, and line 6 is the correct URL, the newer URL. Line 20 also works, but it has the your organization name there, which is not correct. My organization name is Classroom. So I will use that. So I'll delete all these lines. Now I have to keep these 3 lines, which are new, and I would like to keep them. So I'll cut them from here and put them right below our line number 7. This order is not really technically important, but just more of an organizational structure is what I did, is I moved them up on top. Then line 21, we already got that covered in line number 7. So we don't have to worry about line 21. Now comes these other ideas, which are beginning at line number 19. And those are where you specify copyright, who owns the copyright for a new cookbook that you will create. So if it is your company, you can say that my company owns the copyright. And not me as a person. And I need to learn how to type properly, which I think I finally figured out how to type. And then the cookbook email. This is the author's email who's going to maintain that cookbook. And this is basically help text that you want to include as you will generate cookbooks. And yes, Jeff will make it easy for us to create cookbooks because there is a tool for that. And it will pick up details from here, lines 19, 20, 21, as to when you create a cookbook. It will populate your name, your company name, copyright holder, and your license type. For example, this 21 calls out the license type you want to use. So I'm indicating Apache v2 example. So you can pick and choose the license type. If you're working for a company that prefers to keep this detail private, you can call that license private and not make it public. If you want to commercially sell it, you can. And so in that case, you want to make it a commercial license. It's up to you. So you are a creator of something. You can decide what to do with it. Now, 25 is already taken care of. 25, 26, and 27 are 3 lines. We already did that part. So I'm going to get rid of it. And this 23 is also redundant. It's more for help. 24 is taken care of. 26 is also taken care of in line 17. So I'm getting rid of that. Now comes the examples that show us how to do with the Windows Azure. So this Azure Cloud expects this structure. So you want to keep that and save it. Now there is a very last line, line number 30, that you want to leave it uncommented. Leave it like as it is right now. And you want to bring it, remove the comment, remove the hashtag later, not right now. This hashtag will need to be removed later when you have an encryption key in place. Right now we don't have it. So I'm leaving it as like it is. Once I have a key, I will uncomment it. Not right now though. So I'll put the comment back and save and close. So now I have an updated knife RB. It's slightly more elaborate to meet my requirement for this particular exercise. Slightly more detailed knife RB. And as a good practice, you want to put everything in version control, right? So now is a good time for us to practice those things that we discussed early on, like Git, for example. And so I am going to do exactly that, is put all of this thing in a Git repository, which is basically, I would like to initialize the whole thing in a Git repository saying git init right here, and then git add, and then git commit. And I put everything in a git commit right now. You can see git status and git log will show you what I have right there. It shows you initial commit created today. Why is the date May? Oh, this is the UTC time. So this shows London time because the virtual machine is set to London time. And that is what you're looking at is May 13 and 1 o'clock a.m., 1:37 a.m. And so that's what you look at in that repository. We now have this entire chef repo is in git control. You can see that this git ignore file exists. That file contains a lot of things which are a good practice. You should keep this to the extent it makes sense. For example, there is a default entry already provided to you, which takes care of keeping your encrypted data bag secret away from git commits. And also anything that is a personal key, like a private key, like we have here, you want to keep your personal private key also away from git commits. So this knife RB will not be a part of your git repository. Sorry, knife RB will be. In this example, knife RB will be a part of the git repository, but lbnilesh.pem will not. And once you create an encrypted data bag secret, that secret will also be not in your git repository. Your knife RB is something that you may want to share with your team members, and so that's why it is not included. If you decide to keep that knife RB out of the picture, out of git repository, you should add knife RB to your git ignore already to begin with, and then do anything to do with git. Otherwise, your knife RB will get exposed to your team members, which is okay. But if you are going to play with Git, I strongly recommend that you please put this knife RB also in your git ignore. How do you do that? You basically come here and say .chef / knife RB. Sorry, .chef, type properly. .chef / knife.rb. You make that line absolutely if you intend to play with Git. By the way, all these Git steps in this exercise are optional. Doesn't mean you should not do it. It just means that they're not required. The Git steps are a good thing. It's a good practice. You should do it, but don't have to do it. If you're running short on time, you can skip the Git steps. But as a good practice, always use Git every step along the way as you build something. Now, many of you will actually use Git. The concern I have is when you use Git, that you're likely to explore GitHub and you're likely to accidentally leak your knife RB out to GitHub. And watch what our knife RB contains. Our knife RB contains Amazon credentials right there. And you do not want to share these credentials with people on the GitHub, on the internet. For an obvious reason I already said. You will get hacked in under 10 minutes and start accumulating bill at the rate of about $600 to $700 an hour. And you don't want that. So do not commit your credentials into a Git repository and push your Git repository to GitHub. Don't do that, please. Okay, and you can prevent that happening by adding this line in your git ignore file before you do a git commit, which basically boils down to a quick demonstration. I will remove my Git repository right now completely. And remember to do that is you don't create a Git repository before you have to write this line first, line number 4, and then save it, quit from this file, Control W, and then come back here and say, I would like to have another git commit, git repository initiated, git init dot, git add dot, and git commit. And you know how to operate on Git, so I don't need to describe that. Git commit initial commit. And now you can say git log and see the status and all that good stuff. But remember that your knife RB is not a part of your git commit because of this line number 4. And that is a critical step that you need to do to make sure that your git commits and subsequent GitHub pushes do not include your Amazon credentials, which may be right here in line 13. And one last time, do not disclose your secrets, please. Thank you. Okay, now let's move. So close that file and move on. So we are moving to our next step. So putting everything in a git commit control, and now moving on to the next step, which is to get some cookbooks now. So which cookbooks do we want to get? 3, right? You want to get 3. Those 3 are Apache, PHP, and MySQL. That's what I'm going to get. So here is a list of cookbooks that I want to get. And in that list, it's slightly longer than 3. The reason is I want to grab these books that includes PHP, MySQL, and Apache. But then what I have done is I have included certain other books alongside with it that are also required independent cookbooks. They are needed for the entire exercise to complete. They're dependencies of these other cookbooks. So, for example, MySQL may require certain other things. This Apache 2 might require certain other things. So I have included a list of books that I would like to have. And this time, I will use not Burkshelf, but a different tool that operates pretty similar to Bookshelf, pretty similar. The tool is called Librarian, and it does deal with books. And that's the name. Librarian Chef is the name of the actual gem. If you look at our gem file, it contains the Librarian gem already. If you scroll here, you will find Librarian Chef listed somewhere. In that list, there will be a gem called Librarian Chef, and that librarian is what we want to use as a variation to the other idea, which is there is line 87 contains Librarian Chef, and this is very similar to Bookshelf, by the way, but just another example of how you can alternatively manage cookbooks if you like. This works slightly differently, but conceptually very similar. In this example, what we need to do, like in case of Bookshelf, what we did was we put our cookbook name and version number and name and version number in a file. We call it the Burks file. We will put pretty much the same detail, but in a different file, not this file, but a file called chef file. Structurally very similar. The file is different, and the tool that will use this is also different. It is the Librarian Chef. So different tool, same idea, just a flavor to give you a flavor of other things. Now that's what we intend to do, is this create a chef file, this file, chef file, with this content. So that is the content I want to put, and grab that content in our chef file. So I'll putting all this content, copying it from here, copy, go to our virtual machine, and there create a new file. We'll call it chef file. So we'll basically create a new file, new, and save it as chef file with a capital C, save, and that empty file will fill up with this detail, which is what we have from our website. Now this is structurally very similar to what you would see and expect to see in a Burks file, except we are using a different tool. So that tool that we are going to use is called Librarian Chef, as we discussed already. And in that tool, what we intend to do is just invoke it to grab the books. So we'll ask Librarian to get me the books. So here's how you do it. Request Librarian to gather the prescribed books prescribed in chef file. So whatever you told in chef file, you should run this command. It will go to the supermarket and grab the books for you and place it in the right location. That's what you will see happen when you run it. But before you run it, there is a good idea to put these things in your Git repository. And you want to do a strange thing right now, which is this thing. It is kind of strange that you are deciding to ignore the entire cookbooks folder right here. And what am I doing here is I'm echoing this line to git ignore. What does this do? Let's go see it. So if I echo this line to git ignore, my git ignore file will contain a line containing the word cookbooks. The word cookbooks will go at the very tail end of this line called git ignore. What does this practically do? So in practice, what will happen at the very bottom, you will see this line contain line 54. It contains a reference called cookbooks. And this is the git ignore file. So the implication of this basically means that you want Git to completely ignore everything that you will have in the cookbooks folder. And I wonder, why do I do that? Anybody, any takers? Why would I do that? Why this is a good idea? Why do I want to hide my cookbooks from everybody in Git in my team? Anybody? I don't want to give my team members all my cookbooks. I want to hide it from them. Why?
I was going to guess it was redundant information.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. It is redundant because, just like I can grab the books from the supermarket using this chef file and librarian and Burke's file and Burke shelf, they can also do that same thing. Why do I have to make my Git repository fat? These books are fat, right? I don't want to make my repo fat. I want to keep it tiny and slim. I don't want junk in there, right? So I can get rid of my junk by not including all these books in my Git repository. So I put this line in Git ignore at the very end. And therefore, I decide to not give my buddies my collection of cookbooks because it is kind of bloat. There's no reason. They already have it. So that's why you have the very last line here that says cookbooks, which means cookbooks will not go into the Git repository. And so you will have, when you now git commit, okay, hold on. This step here will say, you also want to echo TMP to git ignore. This TMP is a temporary location that contains a ton of crap, basically. You will see the crap. It's going to come momentarily. And so you will accumulate cookbooks, you will accumulate a ton of crap in the TMP folder, and you don't want to give your crap to other people in your team. So you want to ignore that TMP also. Then you git add and git commit. That's what we are going to do right now. So I will basically do another git commit and ignore all the crap that I'm going to create and collect. So my TMP folder need also to be included right here, TMP. So I just added that line 55 and save it and close it. So I close my git ignore. I will now git add and then git commit. And in the git commit, I will message like this. Message to my team members saying, oops, what did I do? Double. I think it doubled it for no reason. So I have my git ignore doubled cookbooks twice. That's redundant. So I'll clean it up. Come on, there. So this line came out twice for no reason because of a bad copy paste. So I remove that, save, close, go back to my website here and grab the appropriate commit message. The commit message is to ignore cookbooks folder and TMP folder as we track using chef file. And we don't have to track these things using the actual books. We just pass them a reference to the chef file, which will handle the cookbooks for our team members. So that's what we intend to do. And we'll say, you know what, do a git commit. And so it does. So you can see the git log shows them that I'm not passing my cookbooks, I'm not passing my TMP. So they know, team members would know. Having done this part, let's proceed. So how to get the books down? We'll ask librarian to go grab the books from your supermarket. So here we go. We'll say that, librarian, please, can you get me the books? And librarian will say, hang on, let me go get some books for you. And that's what we are going to run in this terminal right here, pasting right now, and bundle exec librarian chef install. This librarian chef will actually look at the chef file and start accumulating a ton of crap in the TMP folder. It basically downloads it in the TMP folder. That's what library is doing right now. It is putting this thing in a cache folder. It's grabbing all the sources from the supermarket. It's a scratch folder, and a ton of things will come and sit here. And we don't have to worry about any of this because it's a temporary file. What we need to worry about is the cookbook collection that will pop up in the cookbooks folder. It will automatically show up. And that is happening right now as the TMP folder is a placeholder temporary storage for librarian to go and use to grab these specified cookbooks that you have called out in your chef file. That's what's going on right now. It takes about a minute or two for the books to come down. There are lots of them, and they also have dependencies, and they want to cross-check the dependency map and all that. So that is what is happening right now. And in a minute or two, you should see success reported by the librarian. That will tell you that we got the books. And then we can proceed on the next step, which I think we'll have to do the next time. It's already 7, almost. So we will do that next time, but we still have a few minutes for it to finish. So we'll take a pause and we see that these books that we wanted are available to us. It installed them. We see them here in the cookbooks folder right away, and they are, hold on, where is the cookbook folder? Oh, I think I have to quit Atom, is it? I may have to quit Atom to see. So I'm quitting Atom and listing out what we got. Yeah, so we have the books all collected in our cookbooks folder. We have the Apache book, the MySQL book, and the PHP book, all in good shape. And we have collected them, which is nice. So in Atom, we should now see them. Atom will open, and I am in the wrong folder. That's a bad thing. I should go back to my chef repo folder, not the cookbooks folder. I should not be playing in that wrong folder, and I should also close Atom and open it in the right folder, not that folder. That's not what I want. So I will close this project and then open the correct folder. In that folder, I will open Atom and then examine. I will see Atom showing me the chef repo folder. And in their chef repo, I have my cookbooks folder. I see all these books in there. You will also see that my TMP folder is kind of grayed out, a little bit grayed out. And so is my cookbooks folder also grayed out, but others are black. And I see a green item. This green item is the dependency map that is created as a lock file by librarian in corresponding to the entries you have in chef file. So pretty much like gem file.lock is a chef file.lock is a burst file.lock. Lock shows a dependency map of all things needed that are cross-dependent on each other. And that is what you see in the chef file.lock. Now that we have this new file, we should also put that in a git commit, which goes something like git add and then git commit, saying a message, got the books. And that preserves our git status, so we can check git log. Git log should show us the 3 things. We have initial commit, ignored cookbooks, and got the books in the cookbooks folder. Now with that, I think I will like to pause because it's already the time of our closure. And so I will resume this exercise. I will keep track of this entire workstation as is. I will like to shut it down properly and then take a snapshot before I forget. And I will do one more thing, which is a critical thing that I need to remind myself, which is, since these videos that we record, right? They go on the internet, and many people out there watch it, not just you. And so this is something that I need to make sure that I want to highlight, is that I need to delete my security credentials right away, right now, because I cannot afford to make a mistake of leaking my security credentials out there on a video. I will put my video soon on YouTube and people will watch it. And it's basically anybody can watch it who knows how to get there. So that is why I just destroyed my key, which means next time when we meet again on Monday, 15th at 4 o'clock. We have a Cloud Bootcamp again. So at that time, I will create a new key pair and then start, or rather continue our exercise from this point forward, which is that we have grabbed community cookbooks. So we'll begin with this next step, which is coming up. And that is where we will begin creating a custom cookbook, a place for custom cookbooks and things of that nature. We'll follow from that point onwards. So I'm making a note of this timestamp, or rather this bookmark. I'm going to copy that bookmark, place it in our Slack chat. And I encourage you to go ahead. Don't wait for me. And I know a couple of you are doing that already, which is to go race ahead and finish off the exercise without me doing it. I will do it, of course, but don't wait for me. And in the process, what will happen is that you will explore new things that I may not walk you through. So that is something that is of use to you. If you are interested, go that route. And I am basically pasting that link as to where we go to continue next time. And I would like to say sorry for a downtime. I think I put my site down for a minute or something. I don't know how many of you noticed that site was down. Did anybody notice? Probably not, because nobody complained. But I saw the site was down because of a mistake I did. And that happens when people are involved. When you have people involved, people typically make mistakes. And so I did that. And so with that, I think I will like to pause the recording and ask for questions, answer your questions if you have, and we will get together again on Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and adjust your time zones accordingly.